You love that music, don't you, Mark?
I do really like that music. It feels like I'm in an elevator, writing in an elevator.
Like a disco elevator with one of the,
Yeah,
the disco ball in the
yeah. It's
elevator.
almost like love in an elevator.
Not quite, but and with that, welcome everybody to another confusing episode of Self-Publishing Insiders. I'm Jim Azevedo, and with me, I have like a bunch of my team members here. I've got Lexi Green, who's on the marketing team here with me. Hey, Lexi. I've got Megan Span on the promotions team.
Hello.
And of course, you all know Mark Leslie Lefebvre, our, what is it, Director of VP. Let's call you a VP today, our Vice President of Business
thank you for
Development.
the promotion, Jim. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
Anytime
Wow,
any of you need a promotion, you come talk to me, okay?
I can't wait to tell Dan. This is exciting.
I'll see what I can do about that. So thanks everybody for joining. It was kind of a surprise to us here on the team that all of a sudden we have reached our 200th episode of Self-Publishing Insider. So yay!
It's crazy. Like I feel like
right?
the 100 was way more recent than I thought it was. Like these last 100 really kind of flew by.
Yeah.
They really did, and especially it seems like it flew by faster. Once Kevin Tomlinson, our friend and colleague Kevin Tomlinson left the company, and he was kind of the driving force behind Self-Publishing Insiders. And it feels like when Kevin left, it's like all of a sudden they were just clicking by. Like every week they were just so fast. But a week is a week, I guess.
It's almost like we do 52 a year or 4 years now.
So, yeah, it's weird how there's like 52 episodes a year. I don't know how that works out. But we've had some fantastic guests on the show. I was kind of going back, as nostalgic as I can get over the last 18 months or so over some of the guests, and we've had some fantastic guests on the show. And,
Absolutely.
And I almost feel bad for mentioning some of them because that means I won't mention others, but it's not on purpose. It's just that I thought it was a long list to go through. But when I think back, I'm thinking about some of my favorite episodes were like the very first episode of the year where you guys remember that? Where we did the 2024 predictions episode. And we had Jane Friedman, and we had Joanna Penn, and we had Dale Roberts.
Big cast. Yeah.
Right, and Mark Coker on there. And we're like, all right, look at your crystal ball and tell us what's going to happen to all of us this year in the publishing industry. You guys remember that one?
Yeah. It felt like it was just earlier this year.
Right. It was earlier this year.
No, yeah, there's some trends that I think that we like kind of saw coming. Like obviously, like everyone knew that AI was going to be a big part of the conversation, but I also think that like there's still some stuff that we're going to keep seeing bleed into 2025. So I'm curious to see how things continue to progress as we go into the next year because it's already almost here.
Okay, Lexi, what's going to be the big thing for 2025? We're all looking at you.
I think it's going to be books about cats. We're gonna have a real big cat research.
Yeah, okay. I'll go for
2025. Right.
Nailed it.
Yeah, it's funny if you think back on AI and you look back, I think we started having the first conversations about it like almost 2 years ago, and then it was just like boom, it became this huge explosion and not necessarily popularity, but it's become the forefront of conversations at any conference you go to, and I'm sure any conference you go to in any industry, I bet you AI is on the forefront of those conversations.
And I think that that's a step that we're kind of working through. Like as the AI blew up, like it's similar. And I'm not making a one-to-one comparison here, but I remember when NFTs blew up and when crypto blew up, and like every industry was trying to figure out where does this fit in. And there's a lot of bad actors that naturally come in during that step to like just try and jam an option in or like just try and say, hey, look at what we're doing with the buzzword. So I'm curious to see as that fades away where AI's place in the industry actually ends up.
Yeah,
because obviously there's a lot of really good initial hype, but very obviously a lot of concerns. And I'm curious to see now that things start to settle down, what does it actually look like in the publishing industry?
Yeah.
Yeah, the next 12 months are going to be really interesting there.
When I about an hour after I get off this call, I'm at World Fantasy Con in Niagara Falls, New York,
Ooh.
and I'm on a panel at 3 o'clock Eastern on AI audio. And I'm on the panel with a publisher, another writer, and a professional narrator. And the four of us will be talking about AI. And again, the panelists, and this is a really important discussion, because when you, particularly in today's climate, when you bring up certain issues, it gets very divisive and people get very mean to one another rather than actually having a constructive conversation. So one of the things the panelists, we've all messaged each other to kind of share our stances and our viewpoints, but reminding one another to be very respectful, because there are people whose roles may be threatened in certain ways, and there are people who have deep feelings about things. And so I love when we as writers, when we as creative people, when we as service providers who are looking to promote authors or whatever, when we pay attention and listen, but also look at how can we operate together? How can we support one another? And fundamentally, whatever the topic is, whether it's AI or whether it's anything else that comes up, selling direct and other things that are very important to authors, and crowdsourcing and all the new technologies that enable authors to do different things. How can we have those conversations to be supportive? Because we want to support authors in whatever way we can by providing them free tools. And yes, selling direct is great, but then selling direct is not as good for our partners, right? So we have to be respectful of, but again, at the end of the day, it's respectful of consumer choice, and consumers get to choose where they want to, how they want to consume their books. So whether they get them from libraries, from retailers, they buy direct from authors, etc. Hopefully they're not pirating them. That's what we prefer. So.
And I think the largest part of that whole thing is simply understanding the facts of what it is, what it can do, or what it can't do, versus the kind of, I don't want to say fear mongering, but it kind of is, where it just one thing kind of snowballs into the next thing. It's like, well, let's get the baseline of understanding the actual facts of things. And that's across the board, not just AI, but across the board, because, like I said, one person will share one thing and maybe they had a bad experience, but somebody else didn't. But the information can get muddy when we're sharing more emotional responses than factual ones.
Yeah. And I think
100%.
it's important. One thing I like that you mentioned about the panel you're going to be on is that you do have someone who is a narrator, who is in that industry, as part of the conversation. Because obviously, there is a lot of fear mongering, but there's also a lot of, because we live in this capitalism system, there's a lot of concern about things that a corporation could be using to threaten the positions of creatives. So I think it's good to have people in these industries in the conversation. Obviously, I'm not sure if we've talked about it on the podcast yet, but we released a survey about the possibility of whether our authors would be interested in even the potential of licensing their work for AI training, what that would look like if there was a price point that would make that a realistic option they would be interested in. And we got a lot of good feedback. Ultimately, we decided that it's not something that we want to do. It's not something that our authors in a plurality wanted to pursue. But it's good to have these conversations with authors as opposed to having it over their heads, which I think is something that a lot of traditional publishers might be making broad sweeping decisions without necessarily having those conversations with all their creative base. So it's good to have these conversations.
Absolutely. It's good to have the conversations, and it's good to just, do the research, read a lot, pay attention to the voices in the industry that you respect. Some folks who have been around a while, get a subscription to Publishers Weekly newsletter that comes out daily. It's called PW Daily. Subscribe to Joanna Penn's newsletter. Subscribe to Jane Friedman's newsletter. Keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening in the industry, so that you're not just getting bludgeoned by all the noise of some of the negativity out there. That you can hear from some respectful voices out there who have the experience and who just want to help you navigate through this industry with the best detailed information that there possibly is. And it's difficult. We get that, but as Mark said, it's really important just to listen. Listen before you attack, and don't attack.
I like Alyssa coined this perfectly, which you almost said, keep your pulse on the finger of the industry. There you go.
Thanks, Alyssa. That's just why she doesn't miss a thing over there in the comments.
Hanging out in the
Yeah,
comments,
and
helping
you know
people
what?
out. Thanks, Alyssa.
I like to think that we are the finger of the industry, just kind of pointing like, hey, look at that over there. You should look at
Right.
You should be thinking about that. See,
Right.
we're saving this for you, Jim. It's fine.
We have folks in the comments. I'm so excited. Minecrafty D13 just recently published a book, and a few other people who mentioned they just published their books. I'm so excited. We get to do this. We get to help people. I think I posted in a private channel within Draft to Digital this morning just about a gentleman who reached out to me who just got his author copies of his print books, and he's so excited. And it's a reminder to me, right? Look at this. Phelan just published my first book called Guided Shadows by Phelan Hayes. Can I get some support? Yes, you can. And here's a couple things. Megan, how can we support her in the promotional way? But before we get there, support at draftdigital.com. Amazing team. They'll help you out with any of your questions. If you have specific questions, we'll answer them here. But Megan, I know we promote authors, right? For Phelan and others who are interested in how can they get promotional support from us?
Reach to the promotions department, which is me. I can answer any questions you have about the promotions. We do have a form that has we have a link. There it is. That links to our promo form. And with that form, I do fun stuff with that form. Like you can notify me that you want to get on the list to be notified of other sales that are going on. You can also use that form to tell me that you have exciting news about your book. I have a new release. I have a new pre-order. I've sold 1,000 copies. All of that information helps me know how to help you.
Yeah. It's always interesting to me too that like a lot of our authors don't even know that we have people who are dedicated to promotions, who are dedicated to getting books more visibility, not just in front of readers, but in front of the merchandising managers at the retailers and at libraries who are in charge of these promotions on the front pages of their websites or on their reading apps. And so Megan will tell you if there's an upcoming promotion that might pertain to your particular books or your particular genres. So absolutely, positively sign up for that promotions form. And it's really short too. It's only like a half a page or a page long, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I do want to also note one other thing.
Please.
That using the form does not guarantee a response. You may or may not get a response. You may get a response based on the availability. And if we have something available, I'm dealing with thousands of incoming things at a time. And if we're running different promotions, it can just kind of depend. Sometimes we're capped at submissions, sometimes not. It depends. If you are having a problem, though, I do invite you, don't use the form for problems. Email me, because then that's a separate system. I can look at that separately, but the form does not guarantee absolutely anything.
Yeah, and the other thing too, so Megan, you may hear someone may say, oh, I have a BookBub feature deal, or I've got something going on and I want to share it with you. We look at those and then we'll forward information to our partners and say, hey, Apple, hey, Kobo, hey, Barnes & Noble, hey, Overdrive, whatever, here's some things you should know.
Yes.
We don't always hear back, but we try our best. We send it out. And so if you do fill out a form and you tell us about stuff, we've probably moved that on and shared it. Sometimes you'll hear back when we go, yeah, Overdrive's really interested in doing a thing, or Apple would love to include this feature. Are you willing to, make your first in series free? They'll feature you if you do that. But it is rare, right? So sometimes when you fill out the form, you think, oh, it's going into the nether and nobody's paying attention to it. That's not true. We are trying. We just we try, we push it out and we do everything we can, but we don't always get responses from our partners too, because that's kind of how our industry works, because thousands of new books are published every day. So
and I love the part how you guys sorry, Lexi, go ahead.
No worries. Honestly, we've kind of I feel like a couple of years ago, like promotions wasn't a thing that we were really placing a high focus on, but it was something that our authors were constantly asking for. Like everyone wants help to get their book out there. And now I feel like we have so many promotional opportunities and we have so many ways that you guys have helped kind of tailor a promotional experience for authors that like it's become an asset of Draft to Digital. Alyssa was telling me about a post online from someone who was direct with Barnes and Noble who had heard of a promotion that we were organizing, and they were like, how do I get in on this? So like we are sometimes being as proactive, if not more proactive, than some of the direct distributors when it
That's
comes
a great
to really
point.
pushing on these promotion opportunities.
Yeah, Megan and I recently came back from the Georgia Romance Writers Moonlight and Magnolias conference, and there were like a few authors who said that, right, Megan? Who were like, "Yeah, I
Mhm.
tried going. I've been direct at Kobo or at Barnes and Noble just to take advantage of their promotional opportunities. But once they found out that we have a team who's dedicated to helping them with that, they're like, well, what am I doing? Like, I could
Yeah.
have put all my books through you guys." And we're like, well, yeah, we'll do this for you. And I love how Megan and Mark, how you guys, how you encourage authors to give you more information, more details, to tell you about what they're doing, proactively, even before they receive one of those promotional opportunities. Because you would think, with all of the emails that you're receiving from authors out there, that you would just be inundated. But it also makes sense for you to get additional information, because the more information you've got, like, hey, I have this upcoming book that's coming up. It's on pre-order. The pre-order is performing well. It's book number 5 in my series, and my series has done well at these different retailers. Like, all that kind of information helps you promote the book even harder to the merchandising managers at the retailers and libraries.
Yeah.
I wanted to
It
bring up,
helps me out specifically. I know when I'm trying to push them, and the sooner you can give me more information, the sooner I can arrange things.
how much time do you need typically? Like, what would you recommend?
It will depend. When it's our
Yeah.
partners, sometimes the libraries want a full month advance. And then sometimes with like Apple or Barnes and Noble, sometimes it may be days that I have a quick turnaround for something. With us, with the Smashword store, which I have more control over, I can push buttons a lot faster. I would prefer at least 2 weeks. That way I can at least have reached out to our partners in case there is anything that they want to participate in, and then I can get what I need to get set up on the Smashword side, if possible.
Yeah, okay. I figured it
What a
might be
benefit
longer
it's
than
been
2
having
weeks.
the Smashword store.
Yeah.
So let's Larissa's question you popped up.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I was gonna segue from the
Great
promotions and then
segue.
Larissa's question. And Larissa, thanks for joining, and we appreciate your question here. For those who are just listening and not watching, Larissa says, "Hi friends, hi Larissa." She says, "I'm releasing my debut on February 1st. Anything I should really make sure I do before then?" And then she says, "Excluding editing and cover design, already completed."
Oh, can I start? Can I start?
Please, please.
All right. So, Larissa, you can take advantage of asset list pre-orders through Draft to Digital,
Yeah.
which is an important. So while the editing is getting done, I mean, maybe the cover design, maybe you have a partial cover, you can have the teaser. And I know different tools like BookBub allow you to have sort of the teaser cover coming soon kind of thing. And so pre-orders can be really important for certain partners of ours. And I would suggest that pre-orders on Barnes & Noble, on Apple, and on Kobo are very, very important. Apple and Kobo give extra bonus points for pre-order sales, and the more pre-orders you can get, the better. And you can even see that in your dashboard. But the other thing too is fill out the promo form that Megan was talking about. Tell us about this book. It's coming. So it's coming February 2025. And this is important for anyone listening to this whenever. And we are in October 2024. And so, Larissa, this is a really important thing. Fill out the promo form. Tell us about the book. Tell us the genres. If you know what the comp authors or comp titles, it's for fans of this. It's for people who like this. These are the tropes, whatever the genre is. And that's something we can use, because a lot of what we do is Megan can send out a heads up to the various, we're meeting, I think, with Apple this Friday, and we have we just have these open discussions with our rep from Apple once a month and talk about things like that. And again, with some of our various other partners, we'll send that information out to the libraries. The other thing I'd recommend you may want to look at, Larissa, is create a one sheet, create a single document, like a PDF, and you can create it at a PowerPoint or the Google, the free Google version of that, and just save it as a PDF and have the cover, if it's ready, the information about the book, and even, a little bit about it, who you are. As a Canadian author, I'll put a little Canadian flag on it, because when I'm sending it to Canadian libraries, they want to know that, right? And if you're a local author to a particular region, right, make sure your library knows, oh, this is going to be available through, you know, Overdrive or Hoopla or whoever, Baker and Taylor, whoever you're distributing with. I think any of those things you can start doing now for planning for February is going to help you out. So I hope that's something I would advise that you do.
Yeah, can I kind of grab onto your coattails there and add some
Please.
information? Yeah, and you helped with this a couple of months ago. So, back in my experience, I started with Smashwords back in 2011, and we started introducing or offering ebook pre-orders in June of 2013. And ebook pre-orders have become like probably the best book launch marketing tool that I've seen since I had joined Smashwords, because they just work. But hardly anybody's using ebook
Oh, you mean
pre-orders.
pre-sales, not
Pre-sales, yeah.
No, I mean pre-orders. I mean,
oh, you mean
ebook
pre-orders? Okay, I thought you meant the pre-sales, which you can do on the Smashwords store.
Yeah, but no, but pre-orders. So this is different. So with pre-orders, like hardly any authors are using pre-orders. So we looked at some data from 2023, and what we found is that for the first 6 months of 2023, for authors who were publishing through the Smashwords store, only 16% of those books released in the first 6 months of 2023 were released as ebook pre-orders. Yet of that 16% over the entire year of 2023, those pre-orders earned about 5 times more on average than books that were simply uploaded on release day. So they work. So give them a try if you haven't thought about using a pre-order yet.
And in order to participate in pre-sales, your book has to already be in pre-order status, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Should we define the difference between a pre-order and a pre-sale?
Well, yeah. Well, so the pre-orders, most stores have a pre-order option where you can, readers can place essentially a hold on a book. So it's not available yet, but they want to, they place the pre-order, and then when the release date comes, they get their own copy. Pre-sale at Smashwords specifically allows a reader to get their copy ahead of the release date. So if you have the book completely finished, if it's available and ready for release, then the reader can go to Smashwords specifically, and they can kind of get that early copy of your book, which honestly helps build that excitement. It helps build that like sense of author loyalty, where they feel like they're part of like this early adopter kind of.
They're like a street team, right?
Fan base. Yeah. And like they can be part of that, can create more buzz for your book without you even having to do a ton more for it.
Can we bring up Larissa's second question? Because Larissa, did you see that, Jim?
Cool. Can I add one more thing about pre-sales though?
Well, all right.
It's something that not a lot of people know about. Checkout with the pre-sales. The pre-sales are transacted at the Smashwords store. During checkout, your readers have the option of signing up for your email newsletter right there at checkout. So they can provide you, the author, with an email at checkout. And you, the author or publisher, have the option of providing a discount incentive at checkout to encourage those readers to provide their email address to you. So
what other retailer gives that to you?
No other retailer does that, Mark.
No other retailer, I tell you.
The Smashwords store is made by authors for authors.
Not to mention, you make more margin at the Smashwords store than any other retailer.
Oh, I love seeing those Smashwords royalties come in. It's so much meatier than my Amazon royalties. But yeah, Larissa has another question, so we can pull that up. I'd also love it if someone wouldn't mind talking about creative burnout for debut novelists trying to do it all because we can't.
Can we, Alexis, before we get to that question, which I think is a very important one, Larissa had a later one about pre-orders. Did you see that one?
Sorry, that one was.
I'll pop it up. There's a lot of great comments. I'll pop it up. It says, because I do want to go back to burnout because that's critical. So thank you. But this is because we're still on the pre-orders. Larissa says, to clarify, how do we do pre-orders? Because D2D seems to want finished manuscript, and I won't technically have that back till Monday. There's still plenty of time, so you can always wait till Monday. But when you set up your ebook in draft, so print, no, you need the asset for print. So if that's it, maybe that's what you're thinking about, Larissa. But with ebooks, you don't need the asset. With print, you do, because our print partner needs the asset. And we can't send it to our print partner to get it ready. And
the asset being the finished manuscript.
The asset is the actual content. But with ebooks, you don't need to have the asset. So maybe that's I hope that
Yeah.
helps,
So
Larissa.
when you go
You
through
can always
the
ask
publishing
support
process, when you go through the publishing process, just don't upload a manuscript.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
if you upload an incomplete manuscript, support will kick it back because our stores do not want incomplete books.
They don't want
being
dummy
submitted.
files. Yeah, they don't want
Yeah,
dummy files.
exactly.
And don't worry, we'll nag you. Our systems will nag you. Hey, Mark, trust me, it happens to me. Hey, Mark, it's 10 days. You haven't uploaded your manuscript.
Yeah.
Get at it.
But we'll nag you
we
politely.
will give you stress with those emails.
Yes.
It's worth mentioning, though, that for those of you who are considering doing pre-orders, especially ebook pre-orders, you can have a pre-order up for up to 12 months, and we'll distribute those to Apple, to Kobo, and to Barnes & Noble. This means that you can have a book on sale. You can have shelf space at the retailers for up to a year before your book is actually released to the public. And it's cool because when you're accumulating all these pre-orders, it's like you have this concentration of sales hitting on day one of your book's release, and that's what can cause a spike in your sales rankings when your book is finally released.
Yeah.
Should we talk about burnout?
The question
Yeah,
Lexi wanted to bring up?
Sorry about that. It was a starred question, and that's where my eyes grabbed.
I know, I starred them both, but thank you.
Yeah, in terms of creative burnout for debut novelists, this is one I hold near and dear to my heart. Like I published some stuff under different pen names, but like I still consider myself, at least under the pen name I care about, someone who's working toward a debut novel. And it can be stressful, especially like if you're not in a position yet where writing is your career. Like you have a lot of other things going on in the background, whether that like your day job, your family, like other priorities. And just having the energy to put forth creative output amidst all that can be difficult, and it can be very easy to just run out of the juice. And I think sometimes you feel guilty for not having the energy when you have time to write. And then that creates this feedback loop of like you're not recovering that energy. Sometimes it's important to accept that you do need time to step away, maybe think about your book from a more like outline, abstract perspective, maybe take a little bit of time to just prep without having to create something new for it. And that might bring back more of that energy, more of that that creativity that you need to kind of get back on that course.
Yeah.
Can I add a couple points to that real quick?
Yeah.
I just wanted to, like, a lot of authors ask us about writing to market. Like they ask, like, what's selling? What should I write toward? And I always encourage authors to write what you're passionate about, because if you're writing for a market that you feel is selling better, and you're starting to feel that burnout, that can be dangerous because burnout can lead to quitting. And once you quit, you just guaranteed yourself 0 sales. But if you're writing about what you're passionate about, if you're really passionate about it, then when you hit those inevitable, mud puddles, you'll have the energy to kind of slog through and get that book through to completion. And the second point I wanted to mention about burnout is we were talking about, this is our 200th episode earlier. A great episode you might want to check out that kind of addresses this is episode number 157 with Sarah Cannon, who talks about joy and balance in your publishing endeavors. It's a fantastic episode. Like, I love that episode. I think I've watched it, I don't know, probably 5 times because it's such a, she's so good.
She's great. Yeah.
Sarah. Mm-hmm.
So the other thing I would say, and this is important, Larissa in brackets puts, because we can't do it all, right? And that is the reality. There is so much for us to do, and it's okay not to do it all. I mean, to take your time and get it done. I mean, taking the time to get the product done effectively, properly edited with a polished manuscript and the beautiful covers and all the things that you need to do. It's okay to take your time to get that product out there into the world. And the beautiful thing about when you own your own rights is if you've made a mistake, and I've done that, I've had the wrong cover, I've just gone and revised and gotten a better cover from a better, like a designer who did a better job matching it to the genre. Cut yourself some slack. Don't expect yourself to, I mean, especially if you're managing, working full time or even part time and family your responsibilities and stuff like that. It is hard. It's a lot of work. Know, for example, that you're not alone, that there's other writers struggling along with you.
Yeah.
I'm not the misery loves company, but it's also, it's important, because one of the things that breaks my heart the most is seeing writers give up on themselves. I honestly believe you're here and you've got stories to tell, and you really shouldn't give up on yourself. We don't want to give up on you, because think about how the things that you write can even if it just impacts one other person out there, you're doing something really amazing. So stop, take a breath, relax, be kind, and be kind to yourself. Give yourself the same kindness that you often give to other people, and take a breath and maybe get back on that horse. But recognize you're not going to be able to do it all the time. You may be able to have to change your focus and say, okay, now I'm going to focus on this.
Yeah.
Great point, Mark.
I think in terms of like, we can't do it all, it's also worth noting that it's important to have some like a support structure, because you can't do it all, but it helps to have people around you that are going to kind of help support you. Even if it's just like people to talk to, even if it's just like other writers that know what you're going through. I'm enjoying the comments since we brought up Sarah Hart, seeing people who are Hardies kind of like reaching out to each other. It's like, oh yeah,
Oh,
love
really?
Sarah Hart. Like, yeah, obviously. Also, I just Larissa mentioned that her current burnout's coming from learning so much. Her brain hurts. When she gets back to doing another fun draft, it'll be good. And yeah, like a new draft always kind of gets that going. But I just had to highlight our wonderful Lissa in the comments saying, I call that spaghetti brain, going in too many different directions at once.
Yep.
And spaghetti brain is a real problem, and
Yeah.
it's worth being aware of.
Yeah.
See,
And just one more thing. One more thing to add to that, you don't want to overload yourself with too much information, because that definitely leads to procrastination. You can't make decisions because it's like, I'm getting too much information from too many places. Sometimes they conflict, and it's like, well, now I don't know what to do. So don't overwhelm yourself and think that you have to do everything and make that this manuscript has to be perfect. It will never be perfect. There's always going to be something that needs to be fixed. I like to look in my favorite, like traditionally published books, and find the errors, because they just tickle me. Not because they made a mistake, but because this had a professional behind it, and it still had an error. So I allow myself some grace to know I can't do it all, and allow myself the time to where if I need to have a meltdown, I can have a meltdown. But now I know what to go back to, and also know my limitations. If I understand, yes, I know I need a newsletter. I understand it fundamentally, but that's not something that I can do. Well, maybe I need to focus my attention on somebody whose specialty is that. I at least know the importance of it, but I know that that's not a strong suit for me. So I'm going to outsource that. So knowing your limitations can definitely help with burnout, because I know I experience it. I'm an author. I can't make myself do things that I don't want to do. So I don't like writing to market. So it just kind of depends on where that burnout is coming from, that obstacle.
Fantastic comments, you guys. Appreciate that. May I bring up this question from Linda French? This might be up your alley here, Mark. Thanks for the question, Linda. She says, I was unable to use my ebook file, option was grayed out, for the print version. Is this because I use my own ebook and print ISBNs? I uploaded manually, but using the ebook file is much more convenient.
Yeah, so great question, Linda. So if you've uploaded a Word document to be converted into EPUB, we can generate a print file from that Word document. We can't reverse engineer the EPUB file you loaded. It's not the ISBNs, it's the EPUB file you loaded. So chances are, if you're using Vellum or Atticus or whatever to have created your ebook file, you could probably get your print file out of that system, because usually that's where a lot of people will get them. So it has nothing to do with the ISBNs. It has to do with the raw file. If you provide the raw Word file, we can use our templates and make a beautiful interior for your print book. But if you've uploaded the EPUB file, honestly, the system to break down the EPUB file is messy. So going from the raw Word document is a better thing. And then there was another question related to Word documents and loading. And somebody was asking about adding photographs in the books, and Alyssa was helping in the comments. But Patrick, you need to embed the images in a very specific way in your Word document before you load it. Ebooks and print and images, they're not as copacetic. They don't work as well. That may be where you want to work with a designer to do fixed layout. And to be quite honest, once you're into that realm, that's more print world territory you're getting into, because they don't necessarily work all that well in ebooks. Even some of the books that I've published with traditional publishers that have photographs of haunted places and stuff like that, the print books look fine. The ebooks are kind of problematic. That's not necessarily it's not really a great experience for books that rely on that are image heavy.
Yeah, and it's a case of like our ebooks are a reflowable format, so they're designed to change shape based on the kind of ebook that you're using. So there are ways to optimize your images for your ebooks. And I would definitely, you can reach out to our support team. They have some guidelines that can make it better, but it is not going to be the same as putting in a book. You're not going to be able to like put it next to a bunch of text and have that work out really well. So if you're seeing issues with your photos in your ebook, definitely reach out to support.
Yeah, and I think Patrick said maybe at the beginning of the chapters and stuff like that. So, but if I'm reading it on my phone, it's going to be a different experience than when I read it on my Kobo. Right? It's a better real estate on a larger device, so the image will look better than it will on this little tiny screen. But some of the challenges of the format, right?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, Patrick. Hey, you guys, we're flying through this hour already. Can we take a minute and talk about like what authors should think about as we're approaching the holiday season?
Absolutely. I'm glad we jumped in on that. So as we go into the holidays, obviously there's a huge
influx Halloween,
of people. Right? Yes, Halloween. I know that it's the only holiday that Mark cares about, and I get that. I am wearing my practical magic. Look at that. So
wearing my skulls.
But as we go into the Christmas, Hanukkah, like the holiday season of December, people are getting ready to order a lot more books, whether that be for upcoming launches, whether that be just to get in on the Christmas hype. A lot of people have books that are holiday themed that will be coming out, and you're going to see longer processing times when it comes to books going live on websites. You're going to see much longer shipping times when it comes to print books. So if you're looking to get stuff ready for the holiday season, you should be looking into getting that done now. You should be preparing yourself ahead of time to ensure success in your launch. If you think that you're just going to upload your book the week before Christmas and it's going to go live Christmas Day, I hate to break it to you that you're setting yourself up for potential failure. So
yeah, especially with print books, right? You need that long buffer time. And we were informed that if you're planning on shipping books anywhere near the hurricane impact zones here in the U.S., then you're looking at really, really extended shipping times. I've heard like maybe weeks longer.
I mean, if they're trying to get support services in there to help people, if that's a challenge, imagine the challenge of delivering books, right? So not as much. I mean, yes, books are so beautiful and magical, and we love them, but books are not as important as food and clothing and shelter and water,
medical supplies.
Like
exactly. So please just give grace if you're in affected areas and you're placing orders. Understand that there might be a significant delay you're going to see on things getting shipped. And there's only so much we can do to affect that. There's only so much our printers can do to affect that. So just give grace. I hope you can try and understand the situation and just be aware that as we continue to go into the year, you're going to keep seeing timelines for shipping. Be affected by the world around us.
Plan accordingly, Murphy's Law and all that. So that's logistical concerns leading into the holidays. What about promotional concerns? Like when should authors be thinking about like their heavy pushes in to talk about Christmas or even Halloween, Mark, and other thematic events, but especially the holidays since we're right on the cusp.
I mean, it's too late for Halloween. Not too late for Halloween, but it's 2 weeks from now. So a lot of that work would probably be something if started earlier.
But
Halloween now,
American Thanksgiving, right? Too late for Canadian Thanksgiving, but American Thanksgiving coming up. You still have some time to get some of those themed things out there. But again, it's different. It's different when you're thinking about logistically getting print books than ebooks, and ebooks is a little bit different. So that could be something where if you have a holiday romance, for example, and now's the time to start thinking about whether it's a new book or whether it's one that's existing. Start thinking about it now before you're in the middle of December. Start sending that, to fill out that promo form. And I think somebody asked for it, and I think Alyssa popped it in the comments, but can probably bring that up on the screen again. So you let us know in the promo form, hey, I've got this whatever. I've got a book coming out in February. I've got this great holiday romance. I've got this whatever, or it's going to appeal to people who enjoy these things that are related to the holidays. And for me here, at least in the North American realm, it all kind of starts with Thanksgiving in the US. That's when the holiday season really tends to kick off. And in the book industry, book sales tend to traditionally have always increased between September and December. And then, of course, in ebooks, we see the magical effect of new people getting Kindles and Kobos and Nooks and other ebook readers under the tree. And therefore, you see on the 25th of December through the beginning of January, you see some massive sales as new ebook readers suddenly discover the magic that they can have 1,000 books on a little device here.
It's also worth mentioning that we will at the end of December be hosting one of our Smashwords end of year sales for the last half of December, and that is one of the 3 biggest periods at Smashwords when it comes to sales. So if you get yourself ready for that, if you have everything loaded and prepared for that, you're setting yourself up for success.
Got more eyeballs.
Should we answer Mindcrafty's question really quickly that I just saw that?
Yes.
Mindcrafty says, when I was setting up the publishing to retail for print, I didn't see a list of retailers to publish to. Did I miss something? No, you did not. You did not. Our partner is basically going to be connected to every English language bookstore in the world online, and bookstores can order them. So no, there is no ability to say just this retailer. Like with ebooks, you can say, I'm publishing direct here or whatever. So it's going into the world's largest English language wholesaler for books, and it's going to be available everywhere. So if you happen to have also published that directly to Kindle direct publishing, the KDP print, Amazon will just ignore it, or ignore the one that's coming from our partner, right? Amazon, nepotism wins, so they'll want their own because they make way more margin on their own printing than a third party printer. So I hope that helps Mindcrafty.
Yeah, so it's not, a la carte isn't really an option right now. And if you do have your book on other, in other places being distributed across, your typical general distribution, we just recommend trying not to use the same ISBN that you might be using for print other places, because this would populate as a different printing in some stores, and having multiple printings with the same ISBN can sometimes cause issues. So once again, set yourself up for success. But really, I mean, DC Print will get you pretty much everywhere you want to go. So
they could also use that promotional scheduling tool, right? If authors already have a Drop to Digital account, they can use our promo scheduling tool. Let's say if they wanted to put their books on sale for Black Friday or something like that, or any other time, right?
Yeah, that promo tool is so helpful.
I have one coming up, a 99-cent sale. So through Draft to Digital and through a couple of the other places I publish direct to, I can just preset and say, it's going to be 99 cents for these 7 days. Of course, there's that one problematic retailer that requires me to have to log in the day of and change it. We're not going to talk about them.
But I'm curious, is it a Halloween sale? Are you doing a Halloween sale?
Yeah. How did you know?
It was a lucky guess.
I got a Written Word Media. I got a bargain booksy for it, so I'm pretty happy.
Oh, I'm excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations on that, Mark. I think I'm flipping through the questions here real quick. I want to make sure that we've got everybody's questions answered. I think we have. There are a lot of really cool comments in here. We love watching you guys in the comments section, kind of interacting with each other. That makes us feel
what a great group of people. Love you guys.
Yeah. The community is growing, and everyone's so kind and nice and supportive of one another. So, I think
it's worth remembering that we've been through 200 episodes, and we wouldn't have done these 200 episodes if it weren't for the people who are in the YouTube channel right now, watching on Facebook, or the people who are going to end up listening to this as an episode of Self-Publishing Insiders on your favorite podcast platform, which you should totally check us out on. But yeah, this has been a community builder. This has been a great way for us to connect to authors, and we wouldn't be here without you. So thank you so much for being here.
We're going to keep it going too. For those of you out there, if you enjoy these episodes, can you do us a favor and please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel, because that helps us attract more guests, more experts that can help further your careers, help you navigate through the publishing industry. We love bringing them in. We've got some really cool guests coming up as well. If you want to see who those guests are and what the next episodes are going to be, bookmark dddlive.com, because each week we're showing what the next week's topic is going to be and who our guest is going to be as well. And for those of you who are newer to the publishing industry, or maybe even if you're traditionally published and you're investigating self-publishing for the first time, you can sign up for a free Draft to Digital account simply by going to draft2digital.com. You're all smiling back. What, such
I was signing up.
Smiling faces out there. Well,
I love being
to my friends and colleagues, thanks you guys. Thanks for making this 200th episode fun, as always. To all of our viewers out there, thank you guys for joining us week in and week out. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for all of you. So I hope you all plan on joining us next week. Until then, I'm going to leave you with this quick 30-second spot for Draft to Digital Print, DDD Print, which is our print on demand service out there. We'll see you all next week. Thanks, guys.
Ebooks are great, but there's just something about having your words in print. Something you can hold in your hands, put on a shelf, sign for a reader. That's why we created DDD Print, a print-on-demand service that was built for you. We have free, beautiful templates to give your book a pro look, and we can even convert your ebook cover into a full wraparound cover for print. So many options for you and your books. And you can get started right now at drafttodigital.com.